Wow, just wow. Where do we even begin with this one, ladies and gentlemen? As predicted and usually expected, the Big Ten tournament was absolutely insane. There's major first round upsets, top tier guys not qualifying for the big show, and now they're playing the wild card game. Several matches had flip results, and so much more to talk about. There's also a lot of major things to point out outside of just doing the standard weight by weight breakdown, so let's dive into it. But before that, hi everyone, my name is Tanner, and this is TrueTan Wrestling. I primarily make duel and tournament recaps, lineup breakdowns, and college retrospectives from time to time. If any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to hit that subscribe button. And if you're a fan of NCAA college wrestling, hit that like button for more content in the future. Also feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. But now, let's dive headfirst into this 2022 Big Ten Wrestling Championship. Now, the biggest team we all need to congratulate is the Michigan Wolverines, who I embarrassingly said their ship has sailed a few weeks ago in a video. I think we all can agree the Wolverines had some major questionable performances, even when their full squad was in, but oh man, were they anything but questionable here. Even their lowest place restore looks super impressive at 149, and they had guys battle all the way to the finals, scoring major points there, and several backside heroes that really made the difference. I will continue to highlight them throughout, so don't worry if this is a little brief for their congratulations. Next thing that I'm sure everyone noticed was the number of medical forfeits that happened throughout the day. Don't get me wrong, if you were hurt, I can understand this, especially if you are already qualified for the national tournament, which in some weights you really only needed to win one match, but regardless, these medical forfeit options are clearly becoming an issue and resulting in coaches and athletes just abusing a helpful loophole. These matches do not count towards wins or losses, so basically if you beat someone early in the year, you can medical forfeit and you technically still have the advantage over them. Especially if that is for third and fourth, because the NCAA committee only awards conference champs, and every other placer is seen as the same, the main difference being the head-to-heads, unfortunately. The only problem I really see with this ethical issue is that I can't really find a good way to fix it. And when people are medical forfeiting out of finals, that is just sad as a fan. I know the coaches are doing the best for their athletes, but this season we saw such a shift to this strategy. I mean, we saw it a ton in the first tournament of the year, with the Michigan State Open. I've really only ever seen one fix to this problem used, and that is a doctor's decision. Let me sort of explain myself. Where I wrestled in high school, our state qualifier took top 5 to states, so a lot of wrestlers had the third place match and would try to medical forfeit out of it, to basically take fourth but still qualify for states. However, if a doctor on site did not agree or thought the injury was too bad for the following week even, the state tournament, you would be pulled from that and you would not qualify for states. This would for sure limit the amount of dudes trying to drop out of the tournament since they already qualified, but also informs us on who's really injured and who's not. Regardless, I don't see the point in these guys traveling all the way to Lincoln, Nebraska for probably the second best tournament of the year just to see double-digit number of medical forfeits from some pretty tough dudes. But I am sure we've all talked about this topic enough, and basically everyone's team had a guy drop out, so let's finally get into the weight by weight breakdown and have some fun wrestling discussion. At 125, our champion was Nick Sirianni of Michigan, who bonus pointed his way to a Big Ten title. To say he looked good or great would honestly be an understatement, because he was a man on a mission and for sure helped the Wolverines take the title. McKee of Minnesota would once again lose to Shabra Rutgers in the first round of the tournament and then wrestle all the way back to place third. Oddly similar to last season. Schroeder Purdue started busting the bracket again by beating Heisman of Ohio State in the quarterfinals, but then would get pinned by Sirianni in the semis and then medical forfeit out to take 6. Get used to me saying that. The biggest surprise would probably be second seed Hildebrand of Penn State, placing 10th. He would still qualify for the big show, but definitely a big underperformance. He lost to D'Agostino of Northwestern, who is a super tough wrestler and shows the depth of the weight class, and he was seeded 7th. He then dropped a match to McKee of Minnesota, which was a national Conti final rematch in the second round of the Contis of the Big Ten tournament, which really goes to show the depth of the entire tournament in general. The final guy to mention is Barnett of Wisconsin, who I thought could do some real damage in this bracket and make the finals heading into the tournament. He had a banged up Ayala of Iowa in the quarters, which was an awesome match to say the least, and then he reversed his loss from earlier in the season to D'Agostino Northwestern to make the finals of the Big Ten tournament. He would get pretty beat up by Sirianni in the finals, but who really didn't get beat up by him this weekend? Overall, this weight took 10 guys, and I believe we got the 10 best guys to the big show, so it was pretty exciting to watch. 133 was a pretty big one for the team race. We once again saw a very predicted DeSanto of Iowa versus RBY Penn State go at it in the finals, with Roman taking the win for Penn State and getting a danger count takedown, which would make the difference in the long run. Bird of Illinois once again got super close to beating DeSanto in the semifinals, but once again, a takedown made the difference difference for the Hawkeye to send him to the finals. Rising came up big, making the semis, beating Foley of Michigan State, who beat him before earlier in the year, and taking out returning All-American Canada Northwestern in the Conti semis for the second time this season, and then winning a sudden victory match to take out Bird of Illinois, which was a massive win for the team, and showing that as the tournament gets longer and longer, he gets stronger and stronger. 141 was wonky, to say the least. Nick Lee finally got his first Big Ten title, but received a medical forfeit from Iowa's Ironman. I don't really think anyone saw that coming either. This is a shame because these two always let it fly, and their matches are super fun to watch, but we were stripped of that as wrestling fans. Sebastian Rivera also seemed to be having major knee issues because he would make the semifinals, but then forfeit to Ironman in the semis and drop all the way down to 6, and I was really excited to see a Rivera versus Ironman match that we have yet to see as wrestling fans. That also means that Ironman basically had one match this entire tournament and took second in one of the toughest tournaments in the nation. Other huge notes were Chad Red going 1-2, losing to the 13 seed Rooks of Indiana in the first round, and then losing to very tough Phillies of Purdue in the round of 12. This weight only takes top 7, so he did not automatically qualify, so unfortunately he's in the wild card game, which is crazy to think because Chad Red normally does really well at this tournament. Mija also lost his first round match, and at that point, you had to think Michigan's ship sailed for this tournament already, but instead he became a wrestleback hero, placing 4th, once again losing to Berglund of Minnesota, who also had himself an awesome tournament, looking really good heading into March. 149, we saw Ohio State's only finalist and returning national runner-up, Sammy Sasso, taking on comeback player of the year, Gomez of Wisconsin. Sasso is one of my favorite wrestlers, and I hate seeing him lose, but he'll come back stronger for this, and you really can't get too mad at Austin Gomez winning a Big Ten title. Dude was electric this tournament, and about a year ago, he was done with the sport of wrestling, so it was amazing to see him come back, along with bumping up 2 weight classes to do what he did this tournament. Incredible story. Max Muir of Iowa I thought wrestled really tough, placing 3rd, receiving a medical forfeit though for the 3rd place match from Ridge Lovett of Nebraska, and I thought Lovett wrestled really well besides getting pinned in 20 seconds by Gomez, but like I said, besides that he looked great. Store of Michigan would be Yaya, a returning All-American, to put him into the placement round, but unfortunately he would drop a match for 7th place to Barlett of Penn State, which would knock him out of getting an automatic qualifying spot, and with his limited matches I hope he can still get a wild card because the Wolverines will really need him in 2 weeks. 157 was once again all Ryan Deacon of Northwestern. It'll be interesting to see who takes over the 157 weight in the Big Ten because I feel like it has been Ryan Deacon for just so long. I have said this a million times, but please give the wrestling fans a David Carr versus Deacon final in Detroit. That's really all I want. In other news, Lujan wrestled great and used his style to make himself a finalist for the Wolverines, and it was awesome to see him have such offseason and midseason improvements to take him to this point. Brady Berge might have looked the best I have ever seen him, placing 3rd at this tournament, beating several good guys that have beat him before, along with beating Young of Iowa twice and beating Coleman of Purdue. His leg attacks look so clean, and 157 is for sure his weight class. He did lose to Lujan of Michigan in the semifinals in a predictable 3-1 overtime match, and if they wrestle again in Detroit, it will be massive for the team score, but we'll see that match if we get it. 165 was fun, and we saw the return of Marinelli take the top spot at the Big Tens, but we did miss out on Karcher versus Marinelli Part 2. Instead, Kamamina Michigan looked better than ever this tournament, gathering 2 great wins and then a win in the semifinals over 1 seed freshman Karcher of Ohio State. Amin looked like he could have opened up more in the finals against Marinelli, but I'm sure the way he wrestled was all part of the game plan from the Michigan staff, but regardless, great tournament for both of them. Also, how about DJ Amity of Wisconsin also beating Karchula and continuing his awesome true freshman year, placing 3rd at a super top heavy 165 weight. He's going to do great things in his long career, and the same can be said for the Buckeye Karchula. Dan Bronigo of Illinois also did the injury default in round 1 to drop out of the tournament, which we see every year at this tournament since they take so many spots, so I hope he is healthy and I hope the NCAA gives him a wild card. 174 was a weight I was super excited for, and for the most part I got what I wanted. Kemmer vs. Smith was fun, but unfortunately Kemmer's shoulder would pop out, which you never really want to see 2 weeks before the national tournament, especially with him looking so good. This set up a forfeit in the semis against Starocci of Penn State, who walked into the finals against Logan Massa of Michigan, who beat Labriola of Nebraska once again. The final between Starocci and Massa was awesome, but Starocci did what he had to do to extend the gap between them, winning the match pretty handedly. With Kemmer being hurt, this could possibly set up a national finals between Logan Massa and Starocci. This would be a great way to end Massa's career and could possibly be the highest finish, but I don't want to jinx him. Ethan Smith of Ohio State also looked great on the backside, beating Labriola, sending Labriola to the 5th place spot for the Cornhuskers. And Northwestern's Fisher also had a sleeper good performance, placing 4th, and he wrestled really well even though he did receive a forfeit in the Conti semis, and then he would forfeit himself to take 4th. Oh man. 184 was an epic weight class with awesome backside wrestling along with a must-watch final. We saw the rematch between two studs, Miles Amin of Michigan, the Olympic bronze medalist, and the returning national champ Aaron Brooks of Penn State. Brooks seemed to have the advantage early on in this match, but you cannot tire out Miles Amin, and he wrestled back to win the match with a sudden victory takedown over the returning national champ. And that also basically sealed the deal out for the team race, and honestly good for Amin and Michigan for winning the Big Ten. I love seeing new teams have success, and especially Michigan, who has been building this team for such a long time. This weight took 12 guys to nationals, so expect to see a lot of Big Ten in Detroit. But how about Zach Bronco of Illinois, the 12 seed, taking third, beating very good Romero of Ohio State in that third place match. Another notable win was Cochran of Maryland, looking pretty good, placing 6th, beating Iowa's Assad in his Conti round journey. The 197 final was awesome, and to be honest, Max Dean not only looked good beating Schultz of Nebraska, but also beating everyone and reversing his loss to Cam Caffey of Michigan State in the semifinals and having a much more decisive win over Bolsack of Rutgers. Schultz of Nebraska did have a nice tournament as well to make the finals, and hopefully brings it all together finally to All-American in Detroit. Brookie also had himself a day, beating Warner of Iowa twice in this tournament in the corners and in the third place match to really put a nail in the coffin for Penn State and send Michigan to the Big Ten championship title. Brookie truly looked amazing, and I really think he is moving back to his All-American form from a few years ago, which is perfect timing for the Wolverines and himself. Unfortunately, at heavyweight, one of the best to ever do it, Gable Steveson of Minnesota, did not get a match, and another Hawkeye forfeit in the finals. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but I seriously can't believe Iowa, Tom Brands, Terry Brands let 2 of their athletes forfeit in the finals. I'm sure they're just doing what's best for them, but maybe it's just a coincidence, but I really can't believe it was 2 Hawkeyes that forfeit in the finals. If Cassiope is truly hurt, fine, but come on, Gable deserves a match, but maybe we will see him in 2 weeks, and I'm sure that is exactly what they're thinking with that matchup. One thing to note though is now Cassiope will for sure be on the opposite side of Gable at Nationals, which could give Iowa some huge finalist points. I know Iowa didn't do so hot here, but they are for sure still in the hunt for a team trophy, so this could be pretty big come seeding time. Cassiope looked really tough in his semifinal match against Kirkfleet of Penn State, and I really thought the Nittany Lion was going to get that one back, but unfortunately that just didn't happen. One thing that would really help Michigan as well if somehow Paris would be the 6th at Nationals and be on the same side as Cassiope. It is possible since Kirkfleet did beat Paris again for 3rd place at Big Tens, but probably not going to happen, and more than likely he'll be the 5 and Kirk Levitt will be the 4. But that is enough seeding talk. Heavyweight was fun, Gable was an animal, enough said there. Well, as I talked about earlier, this tournament was great. Well, excluding all the medical forfeits. It was awesome to see Michigan prove myself and others wrong, and heck, if they can do it again in 2 weeks, it would be baller, and I would love to see it. As seen by the team score, they beat Penn State by 1.5 points. So if the team race is that razor thin in Detroit, I will be a happy man because those make for the best NCAA tournaments. With all that said, let me know your thoughts on the Big Ten tournament in the comment section below, along with any questions you might have for me. I'm really excited to see who got a wild card and who didn't, and hopefully guys like Chad Red of Nebraska or Store of Michigan get a spot because those guys are warriors and they really deserve to be at the big show. But be sure to like and subscribe for more TrueTan wrestling content, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care, everybody.